Bilderberg Group's first meeting a document handed out at that meeting entitled Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. The doctrine adopted by the Policy Committee of the Bilderberg Group, and this copy was found in 1969 in the possession of naval intelligence. Now, the following document, dated May 1979, was found on July 7th, 1986 in an IBM copier that had been purchased. So there seems to have been two copies known at the time. A copy found in 1969, which is in the possession of naval intelligence, and this document, which was obtained by Mr. Tom Young. And what is Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars? Well, what we are going under. Now remember, prior to 1954, was there fluoride in the water? No. Was there a really powerful allopathic medical mafia put out there? Not really. It was just beginning to. They had their power, and certainly went after cancer. Quackery, they called it, but these were actual cures, like the Gerson cure and the Huxley cure, which worked. And was there this huge rise in obesity and medical problems and all of this and cancer? No. Were there 25,000 different pharmaceutical drugs? No. There were a couple of hundred. Was there radiologicals put in the water? No. None of this stuff happened. And why it's happening, and understanding why we have fluoride in the water and chemtrails and all of these things, is part of a massive depopulation plan, control mechanism plan for the New World Order. And this document, which everyone can obtain, going on the internet, just Google Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars and you can read it. It's also part of Behold a Pale Horse, which you can get a free PDF online of Behold a Pale Horse. Well, what it does is it's an outline of what their plan is and how they will execute it. Silent weapon technology has evolved from operations research, a strategic and tactical methodology developed under the military management under Eisenhower in England during World War II. The original purpose of operations research was to study the strategic and tactical problems of air and land defense with the objective of effective use of limited military resources against foreign enemies. It was soon recognized by those in positions of power, the Council on Foreign Relations, that the same method might be used for controlling a society. But better tools were necessary. Social engineering, the analysis and automation of a society, requires the correlation of great amounts of constantly changing economic information. So a high-speed, computerized data processing system was necessary which could race ahead of the society and predict when society would arrive for capitulation. Relay computers were too slow. The next breakthrough was the development of the simplex method of linear programming in 1947 by mathematician George B. Danzig. Then in 1948, the transistor, invented by J. Bardeen, W. H. Brayton, and W. Shockley, promised great expansion of the computer field by reducing space and power requirements. With these three inventions under their direction, and the positions of power suspected that it was possible for them to control the whole world with the push of a button. Immediately, the Rockefeller Foundation got in on the ground floor by making a 4-year grant to Harvard College, funding the Harvard Economic Research Project for the study of the structure of the American economy. Economic engineers achieved the same result in studying the behavior of the economy and the consumer public by carefully selecting a staple commodity, such as beef, coffee, gasoline, or sugar, and then causing a sudden change or shock in its price or availability, thus kicking everybody's budget and buying habits out of shape. Then they observe the shock waves which result by monitoring the changes in advertising, prices, and the sale of that and other commodities. The objective of such studies is to acquire the know-how to set the public economy into a predictable state of motion, or change, even a controlled, self-destructive state of motion, which will convince the public that certain expert people should take control of the money system and reestablish security. Incredible, isn't it? Rather than liberty and justice, of course, ladies and gentlemen. For all. When the subjects, citizens, are rendered unable to control their financial affairs, they of course become totally enslaved, a source of cheap labor.
Not only the prices of commodities, but also the availability of labor can be used as the means of shock testing. Labor strikes deliver excellent test shocks to an economy, especially in the critical service areas of trucking, communications, public utilities, energy, water, garbage collection, etc. By shock testing, it is found that there is a direct relationship between the availability of money flowing into an economy and the psychological outlook and response of masses of people dependent upon that availability. For example, there is a measurable quantitative relationship between the price of gasoline and the probability that a person would experience a headache, feel a need to watch a violent movie, smoke a cigarette, or go to a tavern for a mug of beer. It is most interesting that by observing and measuring the economic modes by which the public tries to run from their problems and escape from reality, and by applying the mathematical theory of operations research, it is possible to program computers to predict the most probable combination of created events, shocks, which will bring about a complete control and subjugation of the public through a subversion of the public economy.
1 year later, in 1949, the United States Air Force joined in.
In May of 1979, the document printed in William Cooper's Behold a Pale Horse was found on July 7, 1986, in an IBM copier that had been purchased at a surplus sale. And what it did was basically give an overview of the previous 25 years and how the plan was moving along to control the world. Carroll Quigley's work, Tragedy and Hope, written in 1966, dovetails with this information and the intention of these oligarchs to basically control the world through a financial banking system that they control. So this is just another psyop, okay, that they've been putting on us, because they created, it's all manufactured illusions, bubbles they create, price fixings that they create, manipulations that they create. In this document is something called an Introduction to Economic Amplifiers. The simplest form of economic amplifiers is a device called advertising. If a person is spoken to by a TV advertiser as if he were a 12-year-old, then due to suggestibility, he will, with a certain probability, respond or react to that suggestion with the uncritical response of a 12-year-old and will reach into his economic reservoir and deliver its energy to buy that product on impulse when he passes it in the store. An economic amplifier may have several inputs and outputs. Response might be instantaneous or delayed. Its circuited symbol might be a rotary switch if its options are exclusively qualitative, go or no go, or it might have a parametric input-output relationship specified by a matrix with internal energy sources represented. And that was a quote. Now, what does this mean? Here is a short list of inputs. Questions to be answered. What, where, when, how, and why. Who? General sources of information. Telephone taps. Surveillance. Analysis of garbage, behavior of children in school, ladies and gentlemen. This document, again, was written in 1979. What happened in 1979? The creation of the Department of Education. Starting to tie all the pieces together. You're starting to connect the dots. Standard of living by food, clothing, shelter, and transportation. Social contacts, telephone, itemized records of calls, family, marriage certificates, birth certificates, etc., friends, associates, memberships in organizations, political affiliations. Personal paper trail. You see how it has evolved, these silent weapons for quiet wars? Works with vaccines really well. Works with the media really well because they tell you. The advertisements tell you that it causes cancer, but the doctors say it's safe. You've got to look really hard at what's going on. Take a close look. Read Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. It's contained in Bill Cooper's Behold a Pale Horse, which you can get online as free PDF. Also read The Anglo-American Establishment and Tragedy and Hope, both by Carroll Quigley, also available as a free PDF online. This is no joke, ladies and gentlemen. If you value your freedom and the ability to be prosperous, and you want to be prosperous and have the good things in life, recognize that there are forces working against your interests.
So right away, they dug in to discover what the mechanisms of our economy and how they could further research it and to control it. Energy, of course, is a big key factor. The politics of the whole situation. The issue of primary concern and that of dominance revolved around the subject of the energy sciences. So energy was a big point. That's why we had the energy crisis. That's why we're all being enslaved by high electric and gasoline costs and fuel heating oil costs. This is really what's going on. There's a plan. This is not just coincidence that it's been happening since 1954.
And here is another quote from Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. Therefore, the silent weapon is a type of biological warfare. It attacks the vitality, options, and mobility of the individuals of a society by knowing, understanding, manipulating, and attacking their sources of natural and social energy, and their physical, mental, and emotional strengths and weaknesses. This is key, ladies and gentlemen, to understanding the elite's plan. And it is a plan. And it's working. And the media is complicit. They're part of it. It's all a big illusion as they collectivize the resources of the world and enslave humanity in a neo-feudal New World Order.
Is an outgrowth of a simple idea discovered succulently, expressed and effectively applied by the quote of Mr. Meyer Amschel Rothschild. Mr. Rothschild discovered the missing passive component of economic theory known as economic inductance. He, of course, did not think of his discovery in these 20th century terms, and to be sure, mathematical analysis had to wait for the Second Industrial Revolution, the rise of the theories of mechanics and electronics, and finally the invention of the electronic computer before it could effectively be applied in the control of the world economy. General energy concepts. It goes into how they use the energy to create what did they create? All of these things, the internet, this controlled management through computer systems, Big Brother, the NSA. I mean, this is where it all came from. Now, don't believe me. Find your own truth. There is only one truth. Seek and you'll find it.